said yeah!
This is a fish finder. They come in all price ranges, all technology levels, pretty much standard equipment on all boats, everything from a kayak all the way up to a $60,000 bass boat. This particular model here is a simple ping sonar that you can get them with down scanners, side scanners. They even make them where they draw cute little pictures of fish, where you can almost see the fish striking your lure. Very useful in a boat, but for the average pond hopper or urban angler like myself, they're useless. Let me introduce you to the ultimate fish finder. The ultimate fish finder. So we're going to fly out to this little pond here. And one of the first things I like to do when I get to the pond is kind of get a little altitude, because you know, one of the things that's really cool about the overhead perspective is, you know, a lot of times you find these ponds on Google Maps, or you know, you might see them driving down the road, but a lot of times it's really difficult to, you know, determine if there's access. You know, can you get to the pond? And the overhead view kind of really gives you a good perspective of the terrain around it, maybe any little access roads, or you know, places where you can actually park if you're in a vehicle, or if you're on foot or by bicycle, you know, where you can just kind of get in there and get access to the water. So it's good to get up, you know, above it, take a little overhead view, you know, kind of look at the areas around it. In this particular case, this pond is right off of a road here. Really, you know, access is not that limited. But, you know, like I said, a lot of these ponds can be tucked back in the wooded areas, and, you know, it's useful to be able to look at it from overhead and see if you've got any opportunities to, you know, get by foot back into the pond safely. Also, another good thing about the overhead perspective is it gives you a chance to really examine, you know, the property around the pond. You know, a lot of mistakes that urban anglers or pond hoppers make is they wind up on somebody's private property, and you know, that's not something that I in any way, shape, or form support. It's something that we all need to respect other people's properties. So the overhead perspective gives you a good opportunity to, you know, to look around the property to see if you see fences, or you know, any kind of an indication that the pond is on a private property. With these drones, you know, you can fly right down to almost ground level and actually read signs. I mean, I've done this many times before. You fly down to a sign and you can pull right up and read the sign. So obviously it's a good tool to, you know, to determine if you're on private property, you know, before you try to access the pond. So let's go down and take a look at the pond. Let's see if we can find some fish. There aren't any trees or anything. There are some trees on the west side of the pond, but as far as this area where I am right now for this demonstration, there aren't any trees. And so what we're going to do is we're gonna bring the camera straight down. And once again, this is 4K 30 frames per second HDR. So, you know, we're going to get a really good perspective of what's down in the water. It is quite sunny out today, so that is going to make it you know, there's going to be some glare. As you can see, out towards the middle of the pond, there is a little bit of glare in the water, but you can still see from the overhead perspective a lot of the bottom, and of course a lot of the bank around this pond. So another good tool here for seeing what the bottom structures, the structures that might be on the bottom of the pond are like, water depth and things like that. Things that, you know, the boaters can get through fish finders, but pond hoppers really have to guess at. So let's go down, let's drop down to maybe, we'll get pretty low. We'll get down to about 20 feet and kind of just take a look at, let's take a look at this this bank right in here. So usually, you know, in certain times of the year, you're going to find a lot of fish activity right around the bank. Bedding, you know, fish will be bedding, and this is a good area right in here to look for fish, right around the bank area. So we'll kind of keep it right here at about 24 feet and just kind of fly along the bank here. Of course, once again, you're looking for fish beds, you're looking for the actual presence of a fish. It's, you know, what you see on your monitor while you're flying is actually not going to be as clear as what you're going to see back when you look at the video footage when you get home. That's when you're really going to see the fine details of the pond. So right now what you're doing is you're just kind of, you know, just kind of taking a little ride along the edge of the pond, where the places where fish would be most likely. And you know, we see a weed line here, of course, you know, swing back around, looking up the shoreline or the bank. And of course, you know, there's a lot of structure on the bank, a lot of grass on the bank of this particular pond, but you know, obviously, you know, what we're looking for are fish beds, any kind of thing like that, where we would know this would be a good spot to fish, you know, worth taking the little hike out to it. Just kind of continue to scan this bank here. And once again, we're about 24 feet above the water, so you have pretty good perspective with this 4K. Of course, then the ultimate perspective is going to be, you know, above the pond, looking at bottom features. You know, this helps you to kind of determine the depth of the pond, what kind of features there are. So we'll go ahead and take it up to around 100 feet, and just kind of, you know, once again, you're looking at you're looking a little bit more now at the pond itself from above, you know, you can see the little water glare there, which is, depending on what time of the day you're doing this, you know, you may not have any glare at all. And also these drone cameras, you know, can be fitted with polarizing filters, which will help that. But in this particular case, for this demonstration, what we're just kind of showing the technique and what can be, you know, how these drones can be used to examine bodies of water that normally you wouldn't really have this kind of an opportunity to look at. One more shot down here. Bring it back down. to around 20 feet. I almost thought that was an alligator for a second. And of course, another really cool feature here is, you know, when you're looking down at a part of the pond, maybe something of interest, you can do still photos in 48 megapixel. So let's kind of drop down a little bit closer. Find something of interest here and do some still photos. So let's, you know, say you found, maybe you found some fish beds, and you're kind of curious to see, you know, exactly, you want to look at them a little bit closer. Switch over to the camera mode, click some still pictures. 48 megapixel. And all this time, of course, you're videotaping. Looks like a grassy area over here. See if we can yeah, the ultimate fish finder for pond hoppers and urban anglers.
Landing.